Hi there. We're on Sydney Harbour today and we're going to be taking a sightseeing tour using the local ferries. We'll be starting off in Darling Harbour and taking the ferry out to Cockatoo Island. For those who don't know, Darling Harbour is the up-and-coming tourist precinct in Sydney. Although there's a lot of ferries that leave from there, there's a lot of dining, and the financial district is just next door. It's a really beautiful area, if somewhat touristy. There's a bunch of museums here as well, the Maritime Museum and also the Steam Museum. So a lot of things to do there. So you could combine this trip with other things to do. But today we're catching the ferry from here out to Cockatoo Island. There are a number of piers here that the ferries come into, and so you need to make sure you're actually on the right one. Most of the boats here are the organised tours, which are quite expensive compared to the ferry. So the reason we take the ferries is because they're a really nice, cheap way to explore Sydney Harbour, which is the heart of Sydney. We actually are on the wrong pier here. It doesn't really matter though. You have plenty of time to get onto the right pier. There are two piers here at Barangaroo, and there's another dock over on the other side of this little bay called Haymarket Bay. So I should be clear, today we're leaving from Barangaroo ferry stop. There's a number of different options as well. It's not just Cockatoo Island that you can go to, and the diversity of the different ferries is pretty amazing. There's got little ones, there's big ones, there's river cats. The only one that doesn't call in here are the big lumbering old Manly ferries. But you can catch a ferry from here across to Circular Quay, and from there catch the ferry to Manly. You can check out my other video where we take the F4 and F7 ferries from Haymarket Bay across to Circular Quay and across to Double Bay, which is another excellent sightseeing trip on the water for about $10, I think. I'm not sure where this little guy goes to, but it looks like fun. Looks like a little Tom Thumb ferry. I believe this is the F7 ferry that goes from Haymarket Bay across to Balmain East, McMahon's Point, Milson's Point, and then into Circular Quay. It's a really excellent sightseeing option. So a real variety of different craft here for the ferries. And the ferries connect to the bus networks and the train networks, so it really is a nice integrated transit system. If you're from the US, you wouldn't be familiar with this, of course, but you can catch one form of transport to another without having to walk through the snow or things like that. Anyway, I jest, but the system is all integrated, and you can just tap on, tap off with any major credit card without having to buy tickets and separate tickets or anything. It just charges directly to your card. This is one trip I really must do soon, which is the Parramatta River, the River Cat. And it goes most of the way up the Parramatta River, except sometimes when the tide is low, it swaps a bus for the last sections. But I really must do this sometime. This is the Yvonne Goolagong. Hands up those who know who Yvonne Goolagong is. So this is actually our ride to Cockatoo Island. It's a beautiful spring day, and I think we're pretty lucky to get a seat right up the front here. It's very popular, especially on a sunny day, as you'll see. We get magnificent views of Darling Harbour as we exit from here. It's many years since I lived in Sydney, and none of this existed when I lived here. The financial district was closer to the old Stock Exchange building, and this was just a slum. Nothing was here. Well, the Centre Point Tower in the far right was there, but I think it dates from the 70s or the 80s, but none of these other buildings were here. Sydney is really a boom town. Some things don't change though, and Sydney Harbour is always beautiful. Just the varied boat traffic, the different ferries, the working traffic, the pleasure craft. It's just lively, and on a beautiful sunny day like this, there's no beating it.
You got back
Yeah. Anyway,
and you didn't tell me this? I just got the result that she was getting charged for $500. For work due. She got charged $500.
The harbour can get quite narrow at points. This is Goat Island in the middle here, and I think we go to the left going out to Cockatoo Island and come back on the right hand side. There isn't a lot of room on either side, and you get some quite large ships even this far up. So there's a real premium on real estate prices for any sort of view of the harbour in Sydney. Even though there's miles and miles of harbour front views, there's the premium is still astronomical compared to anywhere in Western Sydney. It's completely understandable waking up to a beautiful harbour view every morning. So the trip out to Cockatoo Island doesn't take very long, 30 to 40 minutes depending on boat traffic, which is a bit of a shame, but there's a lot to see once you get out there. But I actually enjoy the cruise on the harbour more than the actual destination.
Did you find how to submit it now? Sorry? Did you find how to submit it?
So these are the old maritime maintenance yards. They were part of the Navy's maintenance facilities. So a quick history of Cockatoo Island. It was actually a jail from 1839 to 1869, of course. And after that, it was a major shipbuilding and repair facility, and continued that way right up until the 1990s. The island was a key part of the naval repair facilities. Now, one thing to be aware of is you need to make sure you've planned your return trip before you come out here, and I really should have mentioned that earlier. Sometimes the ferries back from here get a little crowded, and just check out whether you can actually get back before jumping on the ferry out there. I don't think they'll actually strand you on the island overnight, but it would be wise to check it out before you came here. So our ferry going back is the Shane Gould. Again, hands up for who knows Shane Gould.
Alrighty, we're off to Barangaroo and Circular Quay only.
We'll head inside for the return trip. No need to sit at the front. Well, at least for this initial part anyway. Then there's plenty of seating. This is a commuter service to points further west than Cockatoo Island. So today there's lots of seating inside. As we get closer to Barangaroo, though, we'll go outside and check it out. We're going to the left again of Goat Island. That's to the north of Goat Island before we went to the south of it. And we can see the Sydney Harbour Bridge in the distance here. Again, a good cheap tour by ferry to see the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House is to catch the F4 and F7 ferries between Barangaroo, Circular Quay and Double Bay. Or is it Neutral Bay? Anyway, check out the map. Some magnificent views of Darling Harbour and Barangaroo as we come back in to dock again. So that concludes our little short tour to Cockatoo Island. Really is a very easy system to get around Sydney, and visitors to Sydney shouldn't forget about the ferries. It's well organised, it's cheap, and an excellent way to see the heart of Sydney, the harbour. Please take a moment to subscribe on YouTube if that's where you're watching this, or on our website, travelwithmark.com. And thank you very much.